Before I do start this video, make sure to use my TCG player affiliate down below if you're looking for any of these singles that I talk about today. Also, this channel is sponsored by Arcane Fortress. If you're looking for the best deck boxes around, make sure to use my link down below in the description to check them out. One other way you can support the channel is by becoming a patron. There are some great benefits of being a patron to the channel, such as giveaways, deck advice, and more when you do join. Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is Devin coming back at you with another video today on PubStomp MTG. With Modern Horizons 3 coming to Magic the Gathering, there is a new commander that I'm pretty excited to talk about, and that commander is Shilgengar, Sire of Famine. And I almost want to say Gengar from like Pokemon, but it's Shilgengar, and so I guess Gengar's a shill now. All jokes aside, this is a pretty powerful commander that goes in a lot of different themes, and I feel like this can be pretty powerful in some situations, so let's first read what it does. So for 3 and double black, a legendary creature, Elder Demon, as a 6/6 body with flying, so that by itself for 5 mana is pretty good. Sacrifice another creature, so it's a sacrifice outlet in the command zone. Create a blood token. If you sacrifice an angel this way, create a number of blood tokens equal to its toughness instead. Also, you can pay 3 Orzhov hybrid mana, sacrifice 6 blood tokens, return each creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. Those creatures are vampires in addition to their other types. So this is a pretty sweet commander. It is a sacrifice outlet in the command zone. You don't have to pay mana or tap it to sacrifice a creature, so you can do this at an instant speed. And what I like about this commander is you could go angel themed, or you don't really have to. It focuses on sacrificing a creature and you'll make a blood token, but of course you do have the big payoff of making a lot of blood tokens based off the toughness of angels you control. And of course, if you just sacrifice 6 blood tokens and pay 3 mana, you can just return all creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield, like a mini Rise of the Dark Realms, only for your graveyard. Of course, they do have finality counters that'll be put on those creatures, but that is pretty nutty. You can just return all those creature cards that you did sacrifice with Shilgengar, and of course they will become vampires. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the demon in Innistrad that brought vampirism to Innistrad, so not 100% on the lore, but I feel like that's pretty sweet. It brought vampirism to Edgar and Sorin Markov. Pretty cool lore-wise. Again, I'm not a huge lore expert. I just know just some little things that I see from Reddit. At first, I thought it was going to be an angel demon just looking at the art, but the more I looked at it, the more I realized, oh, the throne is angel wings. He doesn't have angel wings himself, like the Game of Thrones throne with all the swords on it. Similar to this, he just has all the wings on his throne, and that's kind of terrifying. Regardless of that, let's talk about the commander and talk about the cards you should put in the deck. So first of all, let's discuss Commander Synergy. Let's focus on cards that will help amplify our blood tokens and synergize with them. Inspiring Statuary is incredible because non-artifact spells you control have Improvise. So this way we could tap our blood tokens to cast a big giant angel on the battlefield and later on sacrifice them with our commander. Speaking of tokens, why not add a lot of token doublers to get a lot of blood tokens out? Anointed Procession, Mondrak Glory Dominus are easy includes. Kai is basically a toolbox. You could use that +1 to give your creatures Death Touch. However, our main focus is using a -2. I don't really think we want to do that -6 because of course we want to make sure our angels go onto the battlefield. But then if we do use our commander's ability to put all our angels back onto the battlefield, we could then use that -6 to just mass graveyard hate. Another way outside of doubling our tokens and getting extra blood tokens is by using Camber the Plunderer. This is a vampire, so it does fit with the theme. It does have lifelink. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, you gain 1 life and create a blood token. Typically, if people are playing a lot of big creature decks, it's easy to do this. We're going to be making a lot of blood tokens. This is just a great generator, all for 4 mana. I do also think Vito, Fanatic of Aclazotz, is incredible for this deck because of course we're sacrificing permanents with our blood tokens. When we sacrifice our first permanent, we gain 2 life. When we sacrifice our second, our opponent loses 2 life. And if it's the third time, we create a 4/3 white and black vampire demon creature token with flying. I really wouldn't have put this in the deck if it focused on sacrificing creatures, but because you are sacrificing permanents, I do feel like it's a good fit because of course we could sacrifice angels. We could also sacrifice our blood tokens, so equally, this is going to be perfect. Of course, when we do sacrifice those blood tokens, we want to make sure that we can remove those finality counters. Thief of Blood, ETB, will remove all counters from all permanents, including the creatures that enter the battlefield with those finality counters. And then it'll get a +1/+1 counter for each counter removed this way, so that's going to be perfect to reanimate later on. Solemnity is going to be perfect for this deck too. Players can't get counters, and counters can't be put on artifacts, creatures, enchantments, or lands. So with this on the battlefield, our creatures that we do reanimate with our commander commander's ability are not even going to get the chance to put finality counters on them, so that's going to be incredible value for us. And Nesting Grounds can provide us that great value if we want to remove a counter that we do have from our creature, like a finality counter, and place it on another creature. Any creature on the battlefield, whether it's our opponents, we could easily do so and make our opponents have that finality counter. So that way when we decide to remove it, their creature will get exiled and not our creature. But now let's focus on angels because we get the most benefit of sacrificing them compared to other creatures. So let's focus on some ways where we could get some value out of that. Rampage of the Valkyries is going to get the job done for us. When it enters the battlefield, we'll make a 4/4 white angel creature token, and whenever an angel you control dies, each other player sacrifices a creature. So for one, this provides us great value. Making an angel on the battlefield for us to sacrifice with our commander to make blood tokens is very good. Also, this does act as a grave pact effect only when our angels do die, but that's going to be very common when we're sacrificing them with our commander. But a fantastic include would be Battle Angels of Tyr, mainly because of that Myriad ability. When Battle Angels of Tyr do swing, we can make 2 extra token copies swinging at each other opponent, and then later on we could just sacrifice them to our commander to get exponential value, making like 8 blood tokens off of that. Plus it does have a catch-up effect, potentially giving us card draw, making treasure, and also gaining life too. Other angels that I do want to highlight that are just very good are Sarah's Emissary and Angel of Serenity. I mainly like these because these have great abilities. Sarah's Emissary has a busted ability of choosing a card type. You and creatures you control have protection from the chosen card type, so if you choose creatures, you could go ahead swinging uncontested. If you choose instants or sorceries, you could protect yourself from some removal. Angel of Serenity can exile 3 other creature cards in your graveyard, and then later on could return them to their owner's hand when it leaves the battlefield. Another angel that has great abilities is Drana and Lavala. It's a vampire angel technically, but it does have flying and vigilance. Activated abilities of creatures your opponents control can't be activated, and Drana and Lavala will have all those activated abilities. And of course we can spend mana of any color to activate those abilities too. This stacks effect is really just going to mess up our opponents. There's not too many activated abilities that I could think about, mainly because it focuses on creatures, but there could be some situations where you play this card and you realize the power level of it, and it's pretty good overall. Speaking of affecting your opponents, both versions of Liesa are going to be incredible for the deck. Liesa Shroud of Dusk is a great stacks effect. Whenever a player casts a spell, they lose 2 life. Also, this could help reduce the mana cost of our commander in the command zone. And Liesa could be a great tool whenever another non-token creature you control dies, return that creature card to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. And it does act like a Leyline of the Void effect with that last ability too for creatures. However, I personally feel like the best angel that you can be playing is Angel of Suffering. This is going to be incredible for you if damage would be dealt to you, prevent that damage, and mill twice that many cards. Because you are in a graveyard theme, this is going to be incredible for you, because if we just mill a lot of angels into our yard and then we just decide to sacrifice 6 blood tokens and pay into that mana cost of our commander, we could just put all those angels that we did mill into the graveyard with this ability onto the battlefield. I will give you a warning about Angel of Suffering though if you decide to play this on the battlefield. Let's just say you don't have a lot of cards in your library and somebody swings with you with a big giant creature, and of course you'll prevent that damage and mill twice that many, so of course you could mill yourself out with Angel of Suffering. I would warn you of that. I wouldn't be too worried though, because our commander is a sack outlet in the command zone. If our library is getting very low, we could absolutely just sacrifice that so that we don't have to worry about it later on. But now I want to focus on a different subject, and that's winning the game. There's a lot of ways we could win the game. Of course, we could just reanimate all our creatures and then just swing away for victory there, but there is a combo that you can take advantage of with our commander specifically. It might seem like a lot, but you could use cards like Solemnity, Zulapur Cutthroat, or another Blood Artist effect, Priest of Gix, and some kind of big angel in the graveyard. For this combo to really work, all you really need is your commander out on the battlefield and Solemnity and 6 other blood tokens, and you would need those 3 other creatures in the graveyard or even on the battlefield. So because Shilgengar is a sack outlet in the command zone, we can sacrifice Priest of Gix and Lyra Dawnbringer to make 6 blood tokens. Zulapur Cutthroat will trigger, draining everybody for 2 and you gaining 2. Then you could activate your commander's ability to put all those creatures from the graveyard to the battlefield. Because of Solemnity, those finality counters will not be placed on those creatures that enter the battlefield. Because Priest of Gix will enter the battlefield with 3 mana, you could constantly just pay into that ability, sacrifice those 2 creatures again, and go over and over again until you drain everybody on the table. So I know a 5-card combo doesn't sound too great, but all you really do need is Shilgengar and Solemnity on the battlefield and 6 blood tokens to reanimate all those creatures back onto the battlefield. You could just go into a sacrifice outlet on that aspect. You only really need an angel with power 5 or greater, and Priest of Gix, and some kind of Blood Artist effect to drain everybody for the win. So with all that said, that's going to do it for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming by and watching this video on Shilgengar, Sire of Famine. This is going to be be a very popular commander. A lot of people love their angels, and of course when they turn into vampires, a lot of people get excited for that too, and itself being a demon is just setting itself up for success. I do love how it's an engine in the command zone focusing on sacrificing creatures to make blood tokens, and those blood tokens will be sacrificed to put all creatures from the graveyard to the battlefield. And if anything else, you could use those blood tokens to loot so that you could just discard a big giant creature card from your hand into the graveyard and draw another card. For me personally, I do see this being a very popular commander in the format for sure, especially in the Orzhov color combination, but let me know down below in the comments, what are your thoughts, opinions about this commander specifically? I do typically respond to people who do comment, so if you want to have your opinion shared, I'd love to hear it. So with all that said, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. With that out of the way, thank you for stopping by.